Once upon a time, Kimberly was just going through the motions. Every once in a while, she'd find some happiness, but it quickly faded. She chased every possible way to make money because she thought money was the key to getting the happiness she longed for. Then, one day, she decided she was worthy enough to try a different path. It led her through the dark cave of fear, past the forest of doubts, and to the village of vulnerability. With each step, she trusted herself more. She asked for what she really wanted, and she started to get it. More happiness, more love, and yes, more money. Welcome to the next chapter of Kimberly's Manifesting Success Story. Hello, and welcome to this episode. I am your host, Cassie Parks, and I am back with Kimberly for another chapter in her Manifesting Success Story. Welcome, Kimberly.
Hi, Cassie.
Hi, I am so excited. Today is all about leveraging the law of attraction to write a book. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
This is so good.
Tell us, what's the best thing about having written a book?
I'm the expert of my money story.
Yes. Yay. I love it. And you have written books before, right? What type of a book but this is the first of this kind, right?
Yes, I wrote a bunch of children's meditations, and two of them have been published. And that's a project for the future to finish the rest of them. But yeah, so they were just children's meditation books. Excuse me. And so it was more, I want to say easy, but they're not, it's, I was dealing with younger children. So there's not a whole lot of like big words. Didn't have to be an expert. It was just using my imagination and taking
Yes.
them on a fun trip. So writing this book definitely is more knowledgeable, I guess.
Hmm. Had you wanted to write a self-development book before?
Oh, yeah.
What had yes. What had maybe stopped you, or why hadn't you done it yet?
um, well, because of my money story, I had checked into working with, I want to say Hay House. There were a couple other different places I checked into, and I'm like, oh, you got to pay all this money up front. I'm never going to be an author. I just want to write a book. And so, yeah, I didn't do it. And then I
Mhm.
also thought, well, I didn't feel like the expert.
Mhm. Say more.
Um, I felt like it was more like a who would listen to me, like what I would share maybe had already been said before.
Mm.
And what I didn't recognize is that there's a lot of books where people have said the same things, but it's their tone. It's people are going to connect with you because you're you.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I love that. Tell us the title of your book.
Rebel's Guide to More Money.
Yes, and tell us, because that title was inspired. Tell us how that came about.
Well, I have, I think my very first title when I first joined the Enchanted Circle was Rebel. And I used it as like, I wore that as like this like kind of like a, Wonder Woman, but it was like my cloak. I was like the true
Mhm.
rebel. Um, and so Rebel had to be in the title somewhere. And then my journey is, it really is a guide to more money, like how I went from a rebel money chaser to a confident money maker.
Yes. And I don't remember him at this moment. I looked him up before, but there were some others, right? Like, I remember, oh, I didn't know I had it all. There was a couple others. And so why weren't those the title?
I don't remember now. I mean, I remember when we talked about that, but um, I well, I'll just be authentic. I think a part of why I was adding extra things to it is because I was over explaining it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had to explain or convince you that I was
Mm-hmm.
the expert.
Yes, I will agree with that. I will also say it was a way, um, so there's writing a book because we want to write a book. And then there's surrendering or wanting to help people.
Hmm.
And if we want to help someone write a book, we have to write the title they're going to pick up, right? Because they won't read it if they don't pick it up.
Yes.
And so that is like number one step in if we're writing it to someone and what someone, your the person who's going to read your book isn't going to pick up a book that says like I had it all and I didn't know it, right? And
Right.
why wouldn't they pick that up?
Because they don't have, I mean, that doesn't pertain to them.
Right.
It just doesn't.
They don't have it all. They're chasing money. Like
Yep.
that is whatever, right? It would just
Yeah.
go like they wouldn't even see it on their radar. And so also connecting to the book has to connect to you. Like you said, I was a rebel and I wore it, which is the same as a lot of your clients that you're attracting. They are rebels. They don't fit in. They don't feel like they've ever done it the same as everyone else, right? Nor did they
Right.
want to,
Yeah.
is a big thing about rebels, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Well, so when you first mentioned writing a book, I was like, oh hell yes. I mean, I was definitely on board. And the way that we, well, I'm going to say you and I, like we approached it is that I wrote my book to a specific client, like to
Mhm.
a specific person. And I had never thought about doing it. I always had this like, oh, I have to reach everybody. Everybody has to read my book.
Mhm.
Um, and so it was different to bring it in and really focus on who am I speaking to? Who am I writing to?
Yeah.
That is a huge difference. And I don't think it just dawned on me. Of course, I always have ahas when you interview me.
Yeah, I love that. So when I told you we were going to write it in 3 or 4 days, it ended up being three because we cut it, but we actually planned like a full week, but then we were done because we
Yes.
planned to start on Monday and finish on Friday. And it totally manifested. It worked out, it was totally aligned to have you do an interview right after you finished it on Friday. But when I said
Yeah.
we are going to write it in a week, what did you think?
My first thought initially was like, how the hell are we going to do that, Cassie? Like, oh. I mean, I'm thinking a book like, there's minimum 100 pages. I'm like, how am I going to write 100-page? I mean, I used to cram to write like a 5-page report when I was in college or high school. How am I going to do a whole book in 5 days?
Yes, I love it. And then what was your biggest surprise?
Um, well, even after saying all that, I trust Cassie. So if she said we are going to write a book in 5 days, I knew we were going to write a book in 5 days. And stepping into my future self and connecting to my client, my person, and writing to them.
Mhm.
And it was all inspired. I mean, I know there were certain things that we did, during that journey, but it just really, I was open to it and allowed it.
Mhm. How did writing a book help you grow through, let go, I don't know, maybe demolish perfectionism?
Wow. I feel like there's layers to this. I remember, so I'm just going to share this really quick because I think it's funny, but there was one day that I wasn't showing up and being the person who could write a book. And Cassie yelled at me, and I was so shocked. And I was like, I even remember getting off the phone and telling Joshua, I'm like, Cassie yelled at me. He's like, well, why'd she do that? I'm like, because I wasn't doing it. And I'm like, it wasn't because you were like mad at me or anything like that. It was like, it just needed to snap me back into being the person who is the expert of my money story.
Mhm.
And I think that part of the process for me was going back. I didn't recognize that I had become the expert.
Mhm.
like I had done all the steps. I just didn't, while I was going through the journey, I didn't realize that I was creating these steps or doing these steps and being this person. So I learned so much more about myself and the process. And what I'm sharing is it legit works because I'm proof.
Yeah. Hmm.
Did I miss anything?
No.
Um,
I mean, so how did that tie into perfectionism?
so I there's a lot of things I've started in my lifetime that if it wasn't perfect, I found a reason to not do it or continue or set it down or whatever. Because I was a money chaser, I always moved on to the next thing. Um, Setting down the perfectionism was didn't have to be perfect in the first draft. I
Hmm.
gave myself permission to just write and
Yes.
recognize that we're going to edit this and it is going to be perfect. And the first draft is perfect exactly the way that it is, that it came out.
Hmm.
It's kind of like what do we call those? A brain dump.
Yes.
So, and I think I even wrote here that, um, yeah, I just perfectionism for me is not. I don't recognize it in myself anymore
Hmm. I
because
love
I
that.
created it, and however, whatever I create, it's perfect. It just
Hmm.
is perfect.
Absolutely. What was the biggest aha or growth that came from writing your book?
Again, I think it was just I am the expert of what it looks like to be a rebel money chaser,
Hmm.
and that I created steps along the way that I didn't realize I created them or that they were actual steps. But and then knowing that now, I can share those steps with others so that they can become a confident moneymaker or whatever title they want to give themselves.
Hmm. That's awesome. Um, who did you write this book for, too?
Her name is Raylyn,
Hmm.
and she's a rebel who chases after money, and she wants more. And the book will guide her to go from chasing money to being that confident moneymaker.
I love it. Um, why do money chasers chase money? Say it one more time. It did not come through.
Oh, okay. So why do money chasers chase money? Um, Part of it is the excitement of chasing.
Hmm.
Um, they want more money, and so they're constantly chasing after more.
Hmm.
And a lot of times they don't even recognize if they have more or they don't. They keep chasing money. I don't want to say it's like a hamster wheel, but that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
It's just that continual chase, and you keep chasing because you don't know to do anything differently.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, what do they really want?
I was going to answer it from myself, but I need to answer it from from
Either
their
one's fine.
perspective. Um, y- we want to feel good. Like you want to feel good about what you're doing, and of course you still want more money. That doesn't change. You're just not chasing after it. You want the freedom to do what you want to do when you want to do it, and have the money to do it.
Absolutely. What advice would you give somebody who wants to write a book about their experience or how they have changed?
Do you have a program yet, Cassie, or a workshop? um, I would say work. If Cassie ever offers that workshop, go all in. You will write a book and it'll be amazing.
Love it.
I don't know how else to answer that because I have Cassie.
That's perfect. And I think that's the right, it, not the right answer, but that's the answer, right? Like sometimes, um, we get caught up or we don't like, how do we write the book? And it's following inspiration, right? And so it's either following inspiration to a guide that can teach us how to write the book, or it's following our own inspiration for writing the book and then publishing it or doing whatever. But most people, I think, when they want to write a book, are pushing. They're pushing something else. Most people, I would say, especially if they're in the self-development area, or they're a coach, they want to write the book because, oh, this will be the answer. This will be the thing that makes me successful as a coach.
Yeah.
I need to write a book, and I have been there. I will raise my hand as having been that person. The reason I wrote my first book years ago is somebody said, well, if you want to be a speaker, you have to have a book to sell from the stage. Like, okay. So got a speaking gig, and then I wrote a book and it was still a good book, but it I wasn't writing it to one person, so it's a little bit all over the place. It was um and it was good, but it could be better. But it was a how. And so it didn't take off, or it didn't, and I think that's the other thing is that, it, the book is a how. Oh, this, then I won't have to do this. Then I won't have to do the work to attract clients. Like the book will be magic, right?
Yes.
The book will do it for me.
Oh
It's
yeah.
such a
I
good book. Everybody will buy it.
I thought my children books would make me famous.
Yes. And they still might, right?
Yeah.
As you go through, like who knows what's going to happen a year, 5 years, 10 years from now, right? They might get discovered, but they won't get discovered because they're magic. They'll get discovered because of who you're being.
Yes.
And somebody goes and checks that out, and they listen to this and they're like, oh, she has children's. And then, right? Because it's all
Yeah.
about who we're being. It's not about the thing that we do.
Right.
Yeah. What is the biggest beingness that you stepped into writing the book? And you might have already answered this, but I'm going to ask it that way.
Well, and I'm still doing this. But being the person who is the expert, you know, I'm s- I'm still be I'm kind of on the in between right now where I'm the expert, and now I'm learning to teach it because I am the expert.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you know something, you have to because I don't want to how this, of course, but I
Mm-hmm.
have to step back kind of and look at it differently. Like, oh yeah, I do know this, but how do I teach someone else that they know this or how to do this?
Right.
So I'm stepping more into the beingness of taking my expertise and knowledge and teaching it to someone else in a way that they will understand and grasp it and run with it
Right.
and change their money story.
Yeah. Because the expert can just tell you what to do, but
Mhm.
you want to teach it, which is different than
Yeah.
just, oh, go do XYZ, right? Teaching it requires steps and explanation and in walking people through a journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky because I have Cassie. Everybody just needs Cassie in their pocket. I don't know what else to tell you other than y'all need a Cassie. And then, of course, my clients, they all need me.
Exactly.
And someday I'll be in somebody's pocket. So,
Hmm. I love that. Anything else on your heart or your mind that you want to share about writing the Rebel's Guide to More Money?
yeah. It's just, it was an amazing experience. And I really feel like it has opened my own eyes to who I am and where I'm going and the expert that I've become and that I have changed my money story. So, yeah, I highly recommend writing a book. And then, of course, I'm going to recommend when it's ready that y'all go read Rebel's Guide to More Money.
Yes. By the time this comes out, it'll be available. So you can find it on morekimberly.com, or you can find it. Um, on Amazon, any place you can buy a book, you'll be able to find it. Rebel's Guide
That's so
to More Money.
exciting.
It is so exciting.
Yes.
So we are at the time of this recording, Kimberly's written it, and we are going through the editing, and we have the holidays in the middle. And so just going through that process, because it is, you write it and no one ever releases their first draft, because it is just it's called a draft for a reason.
Yes.
But yeah, we're making it, growing it really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
I'm being the woman that can teach it.
Yes, I love it. Thank you for sharing this chapter with us of your manifesting
Thank
success
you.
story. Thank you all for listening, and make sure to come back and check out what else is awesome in Kimberly's life next time. The telling of stories is so powerful, both to the person telling it and the person receiving it. Since 30,000 BC, we as humans have told stories to teach and guide. And now we, with Manifesting Success Stories, hope to inspire you to what is possible in your own life. If you want more manifesting success, go to moremanifestingsuccess.com, where you'll find links to anything we've talked about on the show. Thank you for joining us today, and remember, you have the power to write your own happy ever after.